Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, or should I say my old one? Welcome, Catholicos, Catholics, Orthodox Christians, and all who seek the truth. Anyways, did LifeSite News and the John Henry Weston show actually censor Cardinal Müller, Gerhard Müller, in his talk about Pope Francis? First of all, I love Lights, a Life site, excellent website, very good news on it. Faithful Catholic, truly Christian. John Henry Weston, same thing, and excellent shows. A good defender of the faith. But in this case, I just watched Cardinal Muller on John Henry Weston show. Oh, let's see what the Cardinal has to say, because Cardinal Muller has been very vocal over the years uh, since Pope Benedict renounced the active exercise of the ministry while remaining Pope in the Vatican, wearing white and giving the apostolic blessing. And as Gonswine said, what Pope Benedict did was not abandon the office, which would have been entirely impossible for him to do after his irrevocable acceptance of the office in 2005. That's what Gonswine, his personal secretary for a billion years, said. And that's basically what Benedict himself said at his last audience, where he said this was a really big deal, and his renunciation did not revoke this, which he was referring to his the always and forever acceptance of the Petrine ministry. So how does that work? You reach your own conclusion. But anyways, the Cardinal Muller, this reminds me of what happened. His words were censored. Not on the video. The video, you hear him say it, which is very critical because he gives hints of what he thinks of Jorge Bergoglio, aka Pope Francis. And his hint is Francis is a heretic. That's what he's hinting at for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, to listen, to understand. Um, but what they did on LifeSite, so I'm not sure if Henry Weston personally handles the website itself and what's on it and how the probably not. He's the probably I think he's the head of the organization or whatever it is. I don't know. But anyways, I'm pretty sure he's not going through every nick and cranny of every post on the website. So somebody must be taking care of this issue. Now, so this is the article. I'm not going to go through the article. I'm not going to go through the video. I'm only going to go through that one section in the video, which was censored on the life site itself's own website of its so-called transcript of the conversation. Well, let's see. So again, I encourage you to watch the video. They have it on their own website. They have it on their Rumble channel. I'm not sure if they are still on YouTube or they were been banned on YouTube. Who knows? Um, I don't think I was able to find it on YouTube. So it's still on Rumble. It is on their own live site, lifesitenews.com website. So, if John Henry is asking about the James Martin and all kinds of things, you go through it. It's not the point of the video. The point of the video is to highlight the censoring of Cardinal Muller on the website, not in the actual video. And this reminds me of what do you call it? The Passion of the Christ of Mel Gibson years ago with Jim Caviezel as Jesus, and there was the scene of the trial with Pontius Pilate and Jesus there, and of course we know all the very famous saying of the people in the square, saying that the guilt, because Pilate said, "I'm going to wash my hands off of this. I'm not going to be responsible for any of the of this innocent man. I'm not going to be responsible for his death." So the people, at the instigation of the priests and the Levites, uh, they said, "No, no, no, crucify him," and then the censored words, because this created such huge controversy in the U.S. that how dare Mel Gibson put these words into the movie, which were actually in the Holy Scriptures themselves, which actually the rabbis in the Talmud are proud of. As I did my Jesus in the Talmud video and others, they're totally proud of it, and that they admit it. So the phrase was, "His blood be on us and on our children." That was censored in the movie in a way. So in the movie, in Aramaic, the words were there. So the people were shouting these words. But if you remember the movie, or if you have it, you can watch it again. There was always translation because the whole movie was in Aramaic and in Latin and maybe some Greek. I don't remember now. But so everything was translated in English because people are speaking in Aramaic or Latin, so you see the English translation at the bottom. These words, "His blood be upon us and upon our children," were censored in the sense of they were not translated. So for those who didn't understand, who didn't know the whole background of the story, would not read these lines, but they were actually uttered in the movie. So same thing happened here with Cardinal Müller and John Henry Weston. So, uh, I'm going to explain what happened. So it actually on their own website here, LifeSci says below is a video, below there's this basically transcript of the video of our interview with Cardinal Müller. It has, and that's a good admission, an indirect admission. It has been edited for clarity, but that's not a true answer. Yeah, Cardinal Gerhard Müller was talking. So sometimes, yeah, you want to maybe make it clear in the sentence, which is perfectly fine. But what happened was actually a censoring, and we're going to watch the video here, and I hope the sound comes through. That's why I have my little things here. I tried it out. The sound worked, so I could hear it. So hopefully in this recording it actually works. I did a pre-test to make it sure it works. But anyways, this is the whole transcript, and this is the section where um, John Henry Weston says, all these problems and Cardinal Zen and James Martin and so forth. Well, Catholics are confused. What do we do? How do we move forward? So again, so here Cardinal Gerhard Müller, his CGM, answers, and we're going to listen to his actual words, and we're going to end the video. So I hope John Henry Weston or the people at LifeSite will put these censored words of the Cardinal back into the transcript where they belong, because that's exactly what he said. And he was making an allusion and a reference to theologians who actually are the pillars of the infallibility of the Roman pontiff in certain restricted circumstances, and the possibility of papal heresy and the consequences of explicit pertinacious heresy and the loss of papal office. Actually, the loss of any ecclesiastical office. If you're not, because heresy, explicit, pertinacious, adhere to, you are no longer you fall out of the faith. You no longer part of the church. So how can one be a ruler in the church when he is not even part of the church? This is their argument. But anyway, so I'm just going to read this part of the um, Cardinal Müller's response, and then we're going to listen to the video, and you can watch the whole video. It's half an hour, so it's not too long. As a Catholic theologian and cardinal, I'm absolutely on the side of the Pope, the institution of the papacy. So Cardinal Müller is actually talking in a kind of intellectual, the German way of things. Yeah, of course, I'm always with the side of the Pope. The institution of the papacy, the Pope is the successor of Peter, and so forth. But that does not mean I have to justify all that is happening. Because in the past, some great theologians, see the plural, great theologians, and then he gives three actually examples, and there's many more, but so St. Augustine criticized some of the actions and words of the popes of the time. And here is the censored part. That before the highlighted part, this is where Cardinal Müller's censored words, must appear. And then he finishes it, which is based upon what the other theologians have said, that he concludes it is not the adulation of the Pope which makes the papacy great in the Church. And then he says, nobody can change the doctrine of the Catholic faith. So nobody. So whether on homosexual behavior, on divorce and remarriage, on the Eucharist, on the Trinity, on whatever, nobody. That includes the Pope. Um, oh, you hear some messages on my phones. Anyways, so let us see this censored. What does the Cardinal actually say? And I hope it just the recording actually pops out you can hear him. So here's his response from John Henry Weston's questions are, what do we do? So here's his answer. I hope let me turn up his volume here because he's really low voice. Anyways, here we go.
As a Catholic theologian, bishop and cardinal, Roman cardinal, are absolutely on the side of the Pope, but in the institution of papacy. But that doesn't mean that I have to justify all what is happening, because also in the past, some great theologians, St. Augustine, criticized some actions and words of the popes of their time. And other some cases, my
great predecessor, his great predecessor in the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, the Holy Office, the congregation or the office which is responsible for Catholic doctrine.
Predecessor as prefect of the Congregation of the Faith, another name, Cardinal Robert Bellarmine.
Cardinal Robert Bellarmine.
Also some ideas of the Pope.
Some ideas of the Pope.
Also Melchior Cano was an absolute great Catholic theologian.
Melchior Cano, one of the absolute great Catholic theologians.
He said, it's not the adulation of the Pope which make the papacy great in the Church, but it is.
So here's the quote. Melchior Cano, who's the one who said it is not the adulation of the Pope that makes the papacy great. So here's see where his words have been censored. And so again, I'm going to just repeat this part just one more time for you to hear it.
Because also in the past, some great theologians, St. Augustine, criticized some actions and words of the popes of their time, and other some cases.
Great predecessor.
Predecessor as prefect of the Congregation of the Faith, another name, Cardinal Robert Bellarmine.
Cardinal Robert Bellarmine.
Also, some ideas of the Pope and also Melchior Cano was an absolute great Catholic theologian. He said, it's not the adulation of the Pope which make the papacy great in the Church, but it is absolutely clear and nobody can change the doctrine of our Catholic faith.
All right, so here you see the censoring on the website of the words of Cardinal Gerhard Müller, who referred to St. Augustine, who referred to very scandalously to St. Robert Bellarmine, who said his great predecessor at the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, and for the absolute great theologian Melchior Cano. What are these men known for? They are known for discussing the limited, the bounds in which the Pope could be infallible, and more specifically, in these days, which is talked about so much, is their discussion of when and how anyone in ecclesiastical office, but they were specifically dealing with the highest ecclesiastical office, which is the papacy. When would a pope lose his office, lose the office of the papacy, and he is no longer pope? So basically, their words are that somebody who is a pope who falls into, again, there's various nuances amongst them about, I guess, but I mean, basically heresy, pertinacious, specific, not internal and secret, and no, like absolutely clear that it is this. He has fallen to heresy. He's preaching against the faith. He has taught error, and he refuses to back down from the explicit heresy, and he knows it's heresy, and he does it, and he teaches it. Then he is no longer pope. He has fallen from the papacy. He has lost the papal office. And that is why this has been censored. And that's why Cardinal Gerhard Müller is saying it in a very subtle way. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm referring to Bellarmine and Melchior Cano. You know what I mean. But I'm not going to, get myself into further hot water and say it explicitly. Because in the past, many years ago, Gerhard Braun, Gerhard Gerhard Müller, he said, no, Pope Francis is not a heretic. But apparently, over the years, his ideas have changed. And this is not, basically, this is not a new thing. I mean, this has been like from the beginning, from the 10th century, 11th century, where the discussions of the possibility of a papal heresy and the loss of office, that's the universal accepted belief. Cardinal Walter Brandmüller said explicit heresy, Pope falls out of office, loses the office. Ipso facto, by the fact, Monsignor Nicola Books, who worked at the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith and the Congregation for the Saints under Pope Benedict XVI, and said the same thing, explicit heresy of a pope, pertinacious, he would lose the papacy, the papal office, ipso facto, by the mere fact. The same was said by the church's highest canon lawyer, canonist, Bishop Cardinal Burke, who himself said that a pope would lose his office, lose the papacy for heresy. So this is the unanimous consent of the fathers. And actually, just again, the thing is, so nobody can depose the Pope. Basically, the Pope deposes himself. So all that the cardinals would have to do is say, well, these are the explicit heresies. He refused to recant or to return to orthodoxy. Therefore, he has, by himself, lost the office. He has excommunicated himself. And we are simply declaring the office to be vacant because this man has defected from the faith. We are not deposing him. We are just simply stating that the office is now vacant. And this is from the Code of Canon Law, the 1983 or whatever it is, Code of Canon Law. So Canon 194, it kind of tones down slightly the ancient canons. But anyways, here it just says, Canon 194. The following are removed from ecclesiastical office by virtue of the law itself. So by virtue of the law itself, these categories of people would lose their office. So be it a bishop, be it a pope, be it whatever it is, a priest even. So it is. So number one who has lost the clerical state, so he would lose his ecclesiastical office. Number two, Canon 194. Number two, one who has publicly defected from the Catholic faith or from communion with the church. So defecting from the public Catholic faith or communion with the church, by virtue of the law itself, you lose your office, period. But in this 1983 code, it added a little twist to make it a bit harder. It says the removal mentioned in number 2, which is for heresy, can be insisted upon only if it is established by a declaration of the competent authority. So this works fine with every single person in the church, but who is the competent authority when it comes to the Pope? Is it the cardinals? That's what actually one of the people who I think was appointed a cardinal recently by Pope Francis, Geraldi, something like that. His name is something Geraldi. I quoted him previously in older videos about the loss of papal office, and Geralandi, I think. Anyways, and one of the reasons he says, again, he repeats the ancient teaching of that a pope would fall from the papacy. The papal office would be empty for insanity and other things, including, of course, for heresy. And this loss is ipso facto and ipso jure, by the law itself. So it is not necessary for anything else to happen. And this is the ancient, actually the codification of the laws of the church, because the church had a lot of canons, like the Eastern churches. So the canons, a lot of canons. So in 1917, they kind of codified some of the older canons. So Canon 188, which is equivalent to the 194 in the 1983 code. So any office, which is actually the more clear, explicit teaching, any office, which includes the office of the papacy, any office becomes vacant upon the fact, so ipso facto, by the mere fact, and without any declaration, by tacit resignation. So the office becomes vacant by tacit resignation. So the office becomes so instead of resigning it explicitly, it is accepted that they resigned it because tacit recognized by the law itself, de jure, by the law itself, by the mere fact and by the law itself. So upon the fact, de facto, and then by the law itself. If a cleric, and a pope would be a cleric, a bishop would be a cleric, it gives you different things. Let's see here. Where is the one we're dealing with here? Public, number 4. So Canon 188, number 4, publicly defects from the Catholic faith. Publicly, that's one of the conditions. There's 7 of them. So I think 7 or more than 7. Let's see here. No, there is 8 conditions for losing of public office. So for our purposes here, though, it is number 4. Publicly defects from the Catholic. I don't know if you can see this here. Focus. Anyways, it doesn't want to focus. So it is Canon 188, number 4. So, I think this is the reason LifeSite, thinking it's a good idea not to inflame the passions, not to get people all excited and think, what did Cardinal Müller really mean? How does this? I was like, you know what? Let's just skip that part. Most people won't even watch the video. They're just going to go quickly through the transcript and not hear, or even if they would listen to the video, they might not notice the reference to Cardinal Robert Bellarmine and Melchior Cano of Cardinal Braun Müller. This way, we can squelch any idea of having a heretic pope in Francis. Anyway, so I hope the people at LifeSite and John Henry Weston will actually not be afraid of telling what exactly Cardinal Gerhard Müller has said. Speak it out loud. I mean, quoting him. Why are you censoring the Cardinal? Anyways, that's all I have to say for today. That's it. That's all. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe and like the video. Put a bunch of comments down there. Argue, because all these arguments and comments and all that stuff, I guess, allows the video to be ranked better with the YouTube there, people. Anyways, that's it. That's all. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. All right. Bye bye.